Let me ask y'all something.
Yo.
What would you do if you knew one of us girl was out here acting crazy and you had proof and it was crazy?
Where is Yandy? That is the question that everyone is asking at the moment. Fans thought Love and Hip Hop Atlanta couldn't get any uglier. But rumors from Puerto Rico have turned into a full-fledged scandal. When the crew's self-described truth teller, Zane, decided he could take no more of the lies, it all started. In front of Scrappy and Mendeecees, he posed a question that startled the entire cast. What would you do if you knew your girl was out here acting crazy? And I had proof. In a single moment, the mood shifted. An argument filled with side-eyes, accusations, and unresolved issues ruined what should have been a tranquil holiday in paradise. Zane's words hinted at something deeper, something scandalized an affair. Furthermore, it wasn't just any affair, with Mendeecees allegedly at its core. Tension rose.
Yeah, might make you relax a bit, bro, because I talked to Kurt this morning, him and Sheeta, they ain't coming. That's good.
Why you alone? Where y'all women there? Mine at the hotel. Where Yandy?
Enigmatic messages. Had she already heard the murmurs? Was she prompted to do so by Zane's bombshell? Or is there a more important secret that nobody wants to face? As the sun hung low over the horizon, casting golden reflections on the waves, tension was rising beneath Puerto Rico's breathtaking backdrop. A relaxed getaway with friends quickly devolved into a simmering pressure cooker full with gossip, suspicions, and secrets. Zane, who frequently provides comic relief for the group and has a lighthearted sparkle in his eye, was unusually serious that evening. As everyone gathered for a dinner by the sea, it became clear that his calm face was actually a facade for the feelings he had been repressing for days. Scratchy reclined back with his drink and gazed at the waves, trying to look relaxed. Mendeecees leaned on the table and feigned admiration for the surroundings, but it was clear that something was amiss. Zane, leaning slightly forward and silently but intently peering at them, drew their attention. "Let me ask y'all something," he said, his voice carrying just enough weight to draw attention. "If I had proof that your girl was acting completely out of control, how would you respond?" A minute of silence fell across the table, broken only by the gentle crash of the waves.
Yo, what? Oh, no, listen, dog.
Tell her gonna be single just like you.
Tell her, bro.
Gonna be divorced just like you.
Ever since I was...
With an uneasy laugh, asking, "Bro, what kind of question is that? If something is happening, just say it." Mendeecees, however, was less amused. In an effort to read Zane's face, he leaned forward and furrowed his brows. His voice was calm but strained as he said, "My wife is Yandy, and I have every right to know what you mean. Speak up if you have something to say. I want you both to know that what I'm going to say has the power to transform your lives." Zane nodded slowly, a faint smirk on his lips. This isn't just gossip. Even the nearby staff, who were quietly setting out plates and drinks, noticed the sudden change in tone. And later viewers of this footage would comment that Zane's tone was different from his usual banter. There was a seriousness that suggested he was hiding something explosive. The words sounded heavier than the humid night in Puerto Rico. Then Yandy was mentioned. Zane added, perhaps too casually, "She's in Greece on a business trip." He cocked his head to allow the impact of his statement to sink in, saying, "But you know, the internet doesn't lie, and social media tells a different story." Yandy's social media posts were the epitome of carefree style, lavish outfits, poolside photos, and hints of new beginnings. Fans noticed the contradiction right away and commented, "Why is she so far away? Is this only a trip? Is another?" Scrappy's laughter ceased. As he asked, his tone shifted from one of laughter to one of doubt. "Are you saying something, bro? You're suggesting that she's in Greece. But what exactly?" "I am just saying that things are not always as they appear," Zane said, leaning back and folding his arms. Everyone at the table felt uneasy because of his statement's ambiguity. Sometimes what you see online is a mask. The Mendeecees were growing impatient. "Tell me right now if you have any information," he said a little louder. "I don't have time for riddles." The once calm man suddenly showed symptoms of tension, anxiety, and perhaps even a trace of guilt. The conversation that night was the first of several that hinted at future issues. Rumors began to spread on social media after everyone had retired to their rooms. According to an unidentified website, a well-known reality star's wife was recently spotted in California while her husband was away on vacation. Because of the uncanny time, fans immediately connected, wondering if this was more than a coincidence. As the night became darker, Zane paced quietly on the balcony, watching the moonlight dance across the ocean. He was planning and weighing the consequences of speaking the truth, not just reflecting on the previous conversation. The prospect that he would divulge information that would destroy relationships, friendships, and reputations made him both anxious and excited. By the following morning, the tension had not decreased. Everyone was deep in contemplation, and breakfast was unusually silent. Constantly defending his own reputation, Scrappy kept his eyes on Zane, waiting for him to say something startling. Mendeecees avoided eye contact, as if wishing to return to the past 24 hours. Every small gesture and subtle glance seemed to have purpose, as if the air itself were full with secrets just waiting to be unearthed. Whether you like it or not, the truth has a way of coming out, Zane remarked nonchalantly as he strolled along the shore later that day. Scrappy shifted uncomfortably at his statements, which were lighthearted in tone but heavy in meaning. You can try to hide it, ignore it, but one day it surfaces. Mendeecees' jaw tightening was a barely perceptible clue that he was already taking in the meaning of what had been spoken. Back at the hotel, Yandy's social media activities continued to fuel rumors. A boomerang that was posted from California with the words, "Sometimes distance is peace," generated a ton of responses. Fans couldn't stop wondering if this was a planned move to divert the growing tension. Was she aware of the remarks being made against her husband? With every new post, she seemed to be sending her audience a subtle message. Over the course of the day, the group's conversations became more scattered. Every casual interaction was tinged with suspicion. Even innocuous jokes had hidden meanings, and every glance was scrutinized for hidden agendas. It became clear that what had started out as a tranquil retreat had now turned into a complex web of uncertainty, where everyone had to proceed with caution and allegiances and connections were questioned. In a private chat with his friend Kurt, Mendeecees voiced his frustration and disbelief. "I thought that this journey would provide us a fresh start and a break from the chaos. Rather, everything appears to be collapsing." In response, Kurt said bluntly but ominously, "Where there's smoke, there's fire." Scrappy's personal concerns were exposed during conversations with the cameras. "I'll respond and make sure the truth is heard. I usually avoid drama," he continued. "But I won't sit quietly if someone spreads false information about my baby mama." Zane remained calm as he saw all of this. He was the focus, discreetly recording answers and measuring the impact of every word. As he whispered to himself, "Time is everything. If you wait too long, the opportunity will be missed. If you disclose too soon, it will blow up in your face." The fear was palpable throughout the hotel. Outings, lunches, and casual conversations could all lead to confrontation. Every word was read suspiciously, every little movement scrutinized. The entire holiday had been turned into a tense theater show from dawn to dusk, with Zane playing a significant role in the unfolding drama. Despite all of this tension, everyone's thoughts, even the millions of fans who were watching from a distance, continued to revolve around what Yandy would do when she returned. Would she support her husband, deal with the rumors head-on, or had the seeds of scandal already determined the outcome of their relationship? The strain was not confined to Puerto Rico. It extended across continents. While Yandy was still in California, every post, story, and tiny hint contributed to the growing speculations. Each of her deeds was examined by fans who contrasted them with Mendeecees' answers and Zane's clues. From a vacation, the story's emphasis changed to trust, betrayal, and the invisible tension that now defined relationships in the public glare. As night fell over the Puerto Rican coast, the group reconnected for a final dinner before the tour concluded. Unspoken words were all around us. Mendeecees and Scrappy exchanged wary glances, and Zane's slight smile hinted at a deeper level of knowledge than he had displayed. even though the sunset was beautiful. Couldn't hide the storm that was brewing behind it. By the first night in Puerto Rico, the setting was set. The balance between appearances and truth was about to change, and everyone could feel it. What had started off as a sunny vacation for friends had evolved into a delicate ballet of discoveries, suspicions, and intentions as each player tried to navigate the increasingly murky waters of truth, deceit, and anticipation. The morning after the stressful seaside meal, Puerto Rico awoke to a calm ocean and nice light. But the hotel mood was everything but calm. After the discussion the previous evening, everyone was tense, and the repercussions of Zane's remarks were beginning to show. Normally composed, Mendeecees found himself pacing the balcony and staring out to sea, as if hoping the sea would wash away the suspicion that had suddenly entered his mind. Scrappy wouldn't leave him alone, replaying Zane's question in his mind under the weight of, "If your girl is acting crazy and I have proof." When the group reassembled for breakfast, the tension was palpable. Zane arrived in a composed manner, but the sharp expression in his eyes made everyone suspect. "Sometimes the truth comes out in ways you least expect," he added quietly while sipping his coffee and leaning comfortably against the railing. Scrappy looked at him, his brows furrowed as he realized the seriousness of what he had spoken. Time is everything. Later, Zane began to press the subject when they were walking around the hotel grounds. The remark hung in the air like smoke before a fire, as harmless as it sounded. "You know," he said slowly, "it's funny how things appear so simple online. But behind the screen, the story can be completely different." Scrappy had reached his limit. "Are you referring to Yandy here? Since she lives in Greece and is far away, what particularly are you recommending?" There was fear mixed with displeasure in his voice. Finally, Mendeecees, who was standing nearby, said, "Look, if something is going on, I deserve to know. I have every right to hear it directly from you as her spouse." Zane's smile widened slightly. He responded, "I've seen some things, and they're not what you think. The truth will ultimately surface, whether you're ready for it or not." This discovery rocked the gang. Even seemingly insignificant talks suddenly become stressful. A simple comment or a laugh could trigger suspicion or anxiety. Every glance had meaning, and even the sound of a person walking by could raise suspicions. After spotting clues and reading between the lines, social media users who were following these conversations were prepared to draw conclusions. Wendy, a Californian, sparked online debates with each of her posts. Is she avoiding something? Did she already know? Is this related to Mendeecees? As the day wore on, the hotel staff became conscious of the stress. Breakfast orders were served quietly, laughter was muted, and conversations were forced. Silently, Zane observed the subtle reactions of Scrappy and Mendeecees. The more he twitched, looked, and hesitated, the more he realized how deeply the unease had penetrated. Before midday, the company decided to take a boat tour down the coast. Even though the sun shone and the seas glinted, the conversation on board was everything from joyful, speaking about his recent interactions with his baby mama. Scrappy voiced concern that misunderstandings would spiral out of control. "Look," he said, "I usually stay out of drama, but if false rumors start to spread, I won't just watch." Mendeecees kept thinking. As he looked out to sea, he knew it was becoming more difficult to ignore the rumors circulating about his alleged romance. Every post by Yandy, every suggestion from Zane, and every fan comment seemed to mirror the growing storm all around him. Zane saw the approaching perfect storm as he watched them both. Not just to generate drama, he was systematically disclosing parts of a puzzle that he knew would stir up controversy within the group and among his fan base. He muttered to himself, "The challenge is controlling when the dominoes fall." By late afternoon, social media was beginning to spread the word about it to other casts. Members who weren't even in Puerto Rico, fans, had been creating timelines by analyzing Yandy's Instagram posts and connecting them to the trip to Puerto Rico. Theories following the discovery of suspected affairs ranged from a premeditated escaped to an emotional retreat. As each idea fanned the flames, the group felt as though they were being watched, physically and figuratively, that evening. After the company had returned to the hotel, a casual lunch caused the tension to explode. As usual, Zane was sitting quietly when he made a subtle comment about timing and social media posts. Scrappy, unable to contain his frustration, leaned forward. "Enough of the riddles, dude. If you know anything, share it. This guessing game is making everyone go mad." Mendeecees nodded in agreement, saying, "Yandy is also involved. It's not just about me. Need to understand the real context of the case and find out whether this is accurate." Tensions were high as accusations. Defensiveness resurfaced. And the suspense was heightened as Zane continued to reveal hints without giving away everything while maintaining a composed demeanor. The group dynamic drastically changed. And what had begun as a pleasant holiday turned into a chessboard with social maneuvering, tactics, and secrets. Voices rose just enough to be heard across the terrace as the discussion turned into a furious argument after seeing a short video from California that showed her laughing quietly while walking down a peaceful street with the comment, "Finding peace in distance." Fans immediately wondered if this was a subliminal message aimed at Mendeecees or a reflection of her knowledge of escalating rumors. Yandy's online persona added even more mystery to this conflict, with the threat of secrets and betrayals looming over every encounter. Their faith in each other and in their own discernment was beginning to erode. As the evening wore on, it became more and more clear how much of an influence Zane had on the group. His ability to hint at controversy without making it public revealed unnerved Mendeecees and Scrappy. The group's interactions were now a delicate dance of mistrust and close surveillance, with every gesture seeming to have a hidden meaning and every remark being scrutinized for underlying signals. Unspoken anxiety now permeated even seemingly innocent situations, like choosing a spot on the beach or ordering room service. Appearing calm on the outside, Zane watched replies in quiet, gauging how far he could push the conversation without revealing all of his information, knowing that time was of the essence and that one slip-up might turn the already tense situation into utter chaos. As midnight approached, the group returned to their rooms, not especially soothed by the quiet of the night, and thoughts abound about the afternoon discussions, the social media posts, and the hints Zane had provided. What had been a tranquil retreat had become a psychological battlefield, with every participant being examined more closely than ever before for their words, gestures, and actions. And the question of when Yandy might make a comeback remained throughout all of this. What would she think of the whispers, hints, and rumors that had gone viral online? Fans all over the world were glued to their screens, examining every post, article, and subtle hint in an attempt to figure out what she would do next. Although the sun had set magnificently over the water, the days ahead would not be peaceful as secrets, suspicions, and tempers had only just begun to surface behind closed doors. And the group felt that if the storm was released, it might have long-lasting effects on their relationships. Because the balance between appearances and truth had changed irrevocably. Puerto Rico's first full day. It set the stage for a drama that would only intensify over time, even as the early sun streamed through the windows. The Puerto Rico hotel was awash with anticipation. After the unpleasant encounters of the previous day, no one felt like speaking freely. Even the light conversation that usually followed breakfast was replaced by quiet looks and carefully chosen phrases. Zane, as usual, seemed unconcerned, sipping his coffee calmly. But those closest to him could smell the hint of planned mischief beneath his placid demeanor. Scrappy shifted in his chair, unable to ignore the lingering tension. "Dude, I don't like the way this is going," he whispered, leaning close to Mendeecees, who was still cautious following yesterday's conversation. "I know," Mendeecees answered quietly, "but if I need to hear anything, it's better to hear it straight from Zane than via online rumors. Zane is playing games, and it's hurting everyone's mental health." Later that morning, while the group was strolling along the hotel's private beach, Zane decided to subtly escalate the conflict by saying, It's funny how sometimes people look one way in public, but completely different behind closed doors. Scrappy's eyes narrowed, and the suggestion was strong. But the words were light, almost like a casual remark, because you ought to just say whatever you're implying. The jaws of the Mendeecees tightened. Pay carefully because we don't have time for ambiguous hints. If there's a problem, I have to know, he said in a voice that was a mix of determination and exasperation. I can handle the truth, whatever it is. The thing is, you might not like the timing, Zane remarked, laughing softly. In some cases, speaking the truth too soon can cause chaos, while waiting too long can make it worse. It's a delicate balance, he added, chilling everyone in the room. Before noon, fans had already started to hear online whispers about the tension from the previous evening. The timing, location, and captions of Wendy's posts from California had all been scrutinized for any hidden messages. Fans speculated wildly. Was she divorcing him because of a supposed affair? Did she possess knowledge that others did not yet possess? Is this related to Mendeecees? Was a common comment, along with "Girl, spill the tea and what's up with Yandy? Spill the tea and what's up with Yandy?" As the afternoon approached, the party decided to go on a boat tour of the coastline. Even with the light and shimmering seas, there were still hints of mistrust in the conversation, evidently agitated. Scrappy voiced his concerns about the possibility of false information spreading and destroying relationships. Clarification is needed. I don't usually get involved in this kind of drama, he said, but I won't keep quiet if lies are being told. Mendeecees gave a calm, contemplative nod. The whispered whispers of an affair, Zane's quietly provocative comments, and Yandy's mysterious online identity were combining to form a perfect storm. He felt under siege even though nothing had been made public, and every interaction with Scrappy or Zane made the situation worse. Zane watched intently, documenting each reaction and hesitancy. He understood the dynamics at play, the brittleness of trust, and the value of time. Instead, then recklessly escalating the plot. His role in this play was to guide it so that the revelations would have the most impact. When the time came, when they got back to the hotel, the group tried to relax by the pool, but the tension remained. Casual conversations became into exercises in self-control. Jokes were studied, glances over shoulders were interpreted as suspicion, and simple gestures carried weight far beyond their intended meaning. Even as laughter echoed softly across the sea, there was a lingering sense of dread. As if a confrontation would erupt at any moment, Zane made a small but calculated move as nightfall approached. During dinner, he casually brought up a social media and time observation, hinting at anomalies he had noticed. Scrappy, unable to contain his frustration, leaned forward. He said scathingly, "Everyone is going crazy over this guessing game." "Dude, stop with the riddles. Tell us if you know anything." Mendeecees, who were equally affected, raised their voices. "Yandy is also involved. It's not just about me. Have a right to know whether this is real. We need clarification, no matter how challenging it may be." As the group tried to find a careful balance between distrust and trust, accusations, defensiveness, and subliminal threats blended together. And Zane added to the drama by providing hints without revealing all of his knowledge while maintaining a calm facade. The conversation became more intense, with voices rising a little and emotions running high. In the meantime, Yandy's online activity added more depth to the story, and fans immediately began to speculate about her intentions when another short video from California surfaced, showing her walking down a quiet street with a serene smile on her face and the caption, "Sometimes distance is peace." They argued over whether this was a statement directed at Mendeecees, a personal reflection, or a reaction to rumored drama. By dusk, the group dynamics had completely changed, with Zane establishing himself as the silent provocateur, subtly influencing responses and controlling the flow of information. Mendeecees and Scrappy now acting more deliberately, every word and action scrutinized for potential consequences. Originally conceived as a time for relaxation and escape, the holiday has become a site of suspicion, intrigue, and strategic observation because of the underlying tension, which created a persistent sense of uncertainty. Even the most mundane activities, like picking a seat at dinner or going for a walk on the beach, now carried profound meaning. Everyone was acutely aware of tone, body language, and the potential for hidden messages, and every interaction was a calculated move in a larger, invisible game. Zane continued to observe, timing his remarks to gauge reactions without giving too much away, and using his patience and astute strategy. He was able to subtly steer conversations with the group while keeping control of the story, treating the unfolding drama with extreme precision because he knew it had the potential to fundamentally change relationships, reputations, and fan perceptions. The quiet of the hotel rooms as the evening drew to a close did little to ease the participants' minds. Every social media post, every earlier day conversation, and every subtle Zane remark were replayed in their minds. And the vacation that had begun as a period of leisure and enjoyment had become a tense psychological environment where every action was dictated by suspicion, trust, and the expectation of revelation. And the question of when Yandy would respond remained unresolved throughout it all. Would she support her husband, face the suspicions head-on? Or had the growing rumors already altered the dynamics of their relationship? Fans were watching intently, analyzing every detail, and waiting for any clue that might point to the next move. On the first full day in Puerto Rico, the scene was set for rising drama because now appearances and reality were at odds. Every encounter was tainted by the possibility of disclosure and the tension secrets, and suspicions that resulted would continue to shape the days ahead, showing that the calm beauty of Puerto Rico's beaches was now only a backdrop for a storm of conflict, strategy, and passion. After days of cautious statements, indirect confrontations, and subliminal clues, the stakes were higher than ever, and the motel was oddly quiet the following morning, as if the sun itself could sense the anxiety hovering over the group. Puerto Rico's usual vitality appeared muted. Zane, who was always watching, took note of every movement, look, and pause, and his calm demeanor concealed the pleasure of knowing that the pieces of a dramatic puzzle were slowly coming together. "Bro, this can't continue like this," he muttered to Mendeecees during breakfast. "People are already speculating, and if the wrong words get out, it could explode." "I understand," said Scrappy, who usually lights up the party, but was agitated and kept going over Zane's hints again in his mind, wondering what he knew, what he didn't know, and what might come out. "But I have to hear it straight. If there is truth, Zane is a more reliable source of information than rumors." As they headed for the shore, Zane made another wise observation. The stories people tell and the pictures we see online don't always reflect reality. It's a mask, a filter, he stated in a tone that was light but deliberate. The remark hung in the air, causing the Mendeecees and Scrappy to gaze at each other with growing discomfort. With a voice full of frustration, Scrappy broke the silence. "Do you mean that Yandy is involved in this? Because if it is, just say it. We don't have time for guessing games. These hints are driving everyone crazy." Mendeecees went on, standing straight. "I need to know if something is going on. I have the capacity to accept reality." Zane's smile barely altered. "The issue is that knowing too soon might be dangerous. Waiting too long can be awful." The group was rocked by his enigmatic words, "Time is everything," which made everyone hyper-aware of every movement and glance. Social media was relentless as usual. Yandy's recent posts from California attracted attention. A video that saw her smiling softly as she walked down a quiet street with the remark, "Finding peace in distance," sparked a lot of speculation. Fans debated if this was a hidden message for Mendeecees, a personal reflection, or a reaction to rumors. The internet audience examined every detail, including her clothing and tone of speech, interpreting every motion as evidence of potential scandal. Later, on a boat ride around the shore, the stress level rose. Scrappy voiced concerns about potential misunderstandings and the spread of rumors. He was barely able to control his annoyance as he said, I don't usually get involved in this stuff, but if lies start circulating, I can't sit back. Mendeecees. Tactfully handling the mounting stress. We're aware that the rumors would damage their relationships, reputations, and even the group's reputation. Zane watched everything with calculating eyes. Not only was he starting the drama, but he was also timing each disclosure, controlling its flow and testing reactions to maximize impact. His calm, composed actions created a sense of suspense that put everyone in the company in a state of constant expectancy. As the afternoon grew into the evening, subtle disputes continued. Without revealing everything he knew, Zane made hints about differences in social media activity during dinner. Scrappy, unable to contain his frustration, leaned forward. He said sharply, "Enough of the puzzles. Tell us if you know anything. We can't keep speculating." Mendeecees jumped in, obviously frustrated. "I have a right to know if there is any truth to the statement. Yandy is also involved. It's not just about me." Clarity is crucial, no matter how awkward it may be. Voices rose slightly and emotions erupted as the conversation heated up. The group exhibited defensiveness, accusations, and subtle threats as they navigated the delicate balance between suspicion and trust. The tension was raised by Zane's calmness while providing hints and allowing room for conjecture. Yandy's online presence added even more layers of complexity. Thousands of comments conjectured about her feelings, intentions, and whether she had made the conscious decision to keep her distance from Mendeecees. In response to the supposed conflict, fans reacted to another photo from California that showed her sitting near a cafe with her eyes far away, and the remark, "Peace isn't always found close to home. Peace isn't always found close to home." By nightfall, the group's relations were tense. Even seemingly harmless activities had meaning. Picking out places for dinner, taking a walk on the beach, or having a drink became practice for reading nonverbal clues and hidden agendas. The combination of Zane's strategic provocations and Yandy's cryptic online communications created a tense, paranoid, and anticipatory atmosphere. Zane had perfect timing and patience. Knowing that pressing too hard could backfire, he waited to create suspense. He carefully guided conversations, testing the waters and observing how both Mendeecees and Scrappy responded. There was a complicated web of psychological tension and subtle manipulation as a result of scrutinizing every word, gesture, and pause. As midnight approached, the solitude of the motel rooms did little to calm anyone's thoughts. The participants' thoughts replicated every glance, conversation, and social media post. What had begun as a tranquil getaway had become a psychological battleground where mistrust, tension, and anticipation dominated every interaction. Throughout it all, one question remained: when would Yandy respond? How would she react to the rumors, the hints, and the increasing online scrutiny? Would she face it head-on, stand by her husband? Or had the suggestion of potential betrayal already altered the course of their relationship? Supporters eagerly awaited any clue as to her next course of action. Analyzing each post and story, the first few days in Puerto Rico had set the stage for the drama that was to intensify even further. Appearances and reality were constantly at odds, and every interaction